Welcome everyone to Strengthening the Core, Ransomware-Resilient Backup with Nutanix Prism and Wasabi. I'm joined by some great colleagues here today. We'll introduce them, and we hope out of this conversation you learn a lot and you can up your level of protection and recoverability with the combination of Nutanix Prism and Prism Backup, as well as Wasabi. Today on the call we have myself, Rob Callahan. We have Abhinav, who is a Principal Product Manager at Nutanix, and his colleague Ruhi, and we're going to have a great conversation. Abhinav or Ruhi, you want to say something?
Sure. Thanks for having us, Rob. So I do help customers manage their hybrid cloud infrastructure using a single pane of glass product called Prism Central. And yeah, I am Abhinav and I do product management for Prism Central at Nutanix.
Thank you.
And I'm Ruhi. I'm Avina's partner in crime. I'm a senior product marketing specialist here at Nutanix, covering Nutanix Prism.
Partner in crime, that's a great segue to what we're going to be talking about, cybercrime. But hold that thought. Webinar housekeeping. We're going to talk about a lot of great stuff. In the side panel here, you're going to find slides. You're going to find some articles and a link from on the Wasabi side to our 30-day free trial, no credit card required, where you can test this technology out on your own and see the value to your company. Throughout the conversation, we'll have, collect questions, and at the very end, we'll be emailing a summary of the questions to everybody who attended with the answers. So first of all, who is Wasabi? Everybody knows who Nutanix is. They've been around for a long time. They're doing a great job, but sometimes Wasabi catches people thinking, is it sushi? What's going on? Wasabi is storing the world's data. We're doing it through initially a place that is cost-effective and economical, secure, but for backups, for backup and recovery, for cyber resilience, but also for active archiving, cloud tiering, collaborative workflow. And now when you build your own AI models, it's a great place to store the data when you're at the front end and the archive at the back end. What we'll cover today, we're going to cover why prevention only fails in this modern ransomware world. We're going to talk about why off-platform copies matter in a Nutanix environment, the joint architecture between our two companies. We're going to talk about security hardening, both immutability and the dual control workflows where you have multiple people have to approve destructive actions. We'll talk about the operational and economic considerations for restoring, making sure that you can restore, that you can afford to restore, and then what you restore is what you think you're restoring. And then we're going to do a walkthrough and Q&A of the actual products working together. We talked about this earlier, but prevention alone is not enough. Ransomware operations are increasingly have the ability to encrypt, erase, and disable backups. And with the rise of AI, they're making it easier, faster, and even harder to detect. Credential compromise can turn a legitimate tool into destructive ones. I don't know if you've seen some of the things on the news, but one of the biggest breaches recently was using a security tool from the company that was securing it that had gotten basically compromised. Recovery confidence is about the integrity of your protected copies. And when you think about cyber resilience, you think about basically the ability of preventing it, but also recovering, because it's not an if anymore, it's a when it happens.
So you're right, Rob, right? Prevention alone is not enough. Threat actors now are leveraging AI in sophisticated ways, much more sophisticated ways than before. They're using it to automate negotiations, conduct vulnerability research, which is now significantly accelerating the speed of both infiltration, but also the complexity of recovery. So for critical infrastructure, data is now showing that the stakes have shifted from days to now hours of tolerable downtime before the system-wide failure occurs. And that's why leveraging the cloud can be such a powerful alternative for strengthening your security posture. It's about having that extra peace of mind. So by establishing that physical and your logical air gap, you're ensuring that even if your management plane is compromised, you have a secure off-platform copy to rely on. external object storage adds that crucial separation layer for attention and recovery readiness. Rob, what do you have to say?
Yeah, on that last point, you're right. I just sort of can't wrap my mind around the fact that someday we may be negotiating with an avatar to get, things back if it gets compromised. So to prevent that, having, like Ruhi said, having that copy in the cloud, but also knowing that credentials are going to be compromised and that they're under pressure. So doing things like having split roles to make sure that destructive actions require multiple people, not just one point of contact or one vulnerability on who can, restore, who can approve restoring, as well as who can delete. With that, let's talk about this great platform, Ruhi.
Yeah, I'd love to take a minute to quickly introduce the Nutanix Cloud Platform. So the Nutanix Cloud Platform delivers one platform to run your apps and your data anywhere. Whether you're sitting in the core data center, you're at the edge, or the public cloud, we provide that consistent, secure, resilient operating model. That means you're getting identical operations across the board and also unified management plane across your entire hybrid multi-cloud estate. So this adds the value of eliminating complexity of managing disparate environments. And in the next slide, I'll quickly introduce this management plane. So right at the heart of our platform is Nutanix Prism. It's that unified management plane that I spoke about for Nutanix Cloud infrastructure. Prism acts as this single pane of glass. It's bringing compute, storage, networking, and lifecycle management all under one roof. And because modern threats are evolving, we've engineered resilience into every layer. At the foundation of it, your VMs are shielded by native security controls. You have strict identity and access management, network microsegmentation, and cluster lockdown policies. But we talked about at the start of the webinar itself, attackers are also now getting more sophisticated and they're targeting the orchestration layer itself. So that's why we secured the management plane as well. Prism Central also includes native backup and restore capabilities with flexible RTO and RPO settings. So if your management plane is compromised, as we said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? You have the tools to restore rapidly. Right, so I want to talk a little bit more about the partnership between Nutanix and Wasabi. As we discussed, security is top of mind at Nutanix. At Nutanix, we quickly realized our customers need that flexibility and that security for their external copies. So we expanded the scope of Nutanix Prism Backup to support S3 compliant object stores. Started with AWS, and then we thought, what's next? So logically, we've engaged with Wasabi as an S3 target for Nutanix environments. Wasabi provides that combination of both performance as well as predictability. So you're getting the speed of a hot cloud repository without the bill, without the overhead of egress charges, and also API call charges. And I think that's what makes the core thesis of our partnership so simple. You're getting with Nutanix Prism, you're getting the operational control plane, you're getting the backup orchestration, and Wasabi provides that secure, the hardened external cloud repository that you need in this new AI age. And so together, we're providing that security and that peace of mind at all levels for our customers. Rob, do you have any thoughts on the partnership from your side?
No, I'm just worried you're doing such a great job for both companies. You could do two jobs. This is awesome, man. I could take a break here. No, I think you covered a great thing. I want to call out one thing you talked about earlier, which I think if it's too hard to do, people don't do it. The fact that both companies have created secure, simple, but very easy to deploy, easy to use, easy to protect environments, both on the cluster side as well as on the cloud side, makes it something that someone will do these basic steps to protect their environment. Because as you said, it's not an if, it's a when. And then we've added the one thing that I like to call it is our multi-user authorization for destructive actions. Knowing that a credential can be compromised, having the ability within our cloud environment to have multiple security contacts that have to approve any destructive request becomes even critical because that is the next target that cyber criminals are going after. And with this, we're going to introduce Abhinav, who's going to talk about Nutanix Prism Resilience.
Sure. Thanks, Rob. Uh, I'll set the stage for Nutanix, for Prism Central, and also for the need for resilience. So Nutanix, of course, is a future-ready platform for the modern enterprise. Nutanix pioneered HCI, hyperconverged infrastructure, almost a decade ago. We reimagined how customers consume network compute and storage, and essentially software-defined them. Today, we help organizations run business-critical applications and workloads on private, public, and hybrid multi-clouds. Essentially, customers deploy nodes, which is nothing but compute and storage and networking put together, which when combined form a cluster. When we have multiple such clusters, we need the ability to manage these clusters. We also have the need to administer the infrastructure, author and define policies, lifecycle manage them, create IAM and RBAC definitions. And that's where Prism Central comes into picture. And that is essentially the centralized management plane for multiple products at Nutanix. As we think of business continuity planning for Prism, backup and restore becomes critical. If you look at the layers of resilience that we offer, at the workloads, essentially the workloads that the customers run and deploy, we have resilience capabilities of Nutanix disaster recovery. These are products, and multi-cloud snapshot technology to replicate and store Nutanix snapshots. In the world of Kubernetes, we have a product called NDK, which is essentially Nutanix data services for Kubernetes that offers data protection and recovery for workflows for Kubernetes workloads. And then at the management plane layer, we have Prism Central, and we have Prism Central backup and restore capabilities with configurable RPO and RTO so that you can recover your management plane if something goes down. So Prism Central can run anywhere, be it on-prem or in the public cloud, on bare metal clusters in the public cloud via Nutanix cloud clusters called NC2. And as all of you know, disasters can strike anytime and anywhere, right? Even in case of public cloud or in the on-prem world. So we could have a node failure, we could have a cluster failure, we could have a site failure or an AZ failure, or even Prism Central instance could go down. So we built two flavors. We built continuous backup and point-in-time backup. I'll spend less time on the continuous backup and more time on the point-in-time backup because that's more relevant to the webinar today. For continuous, we essentially do a latest and ongoing backup every 200 milliseconds to up to 3 registered clusters. So you register your clusters to Prism Central, and you can back up your PC to Prism Central is called PC. We can back it up to 3 registered clusters. The solution has a low RPO. We say about 30 minutes RPO, since one small piece of information takes about 30 minutes, but for everything else, it's 200 milliseconds. So the RTO is about 2 hours, and we do recommend it for customers looking for resilience to cluster failures or Prism Central failures. Now, moving on to the point-in-time backup, we started with AWS and also added the ability to back it up to Nutanix objects, but then realized that the ecosystem of the S3 world, the S3 ecosystem is quite large, right? And we do want the ability, our customers to have choice. And that's where we found a great partner in Wasabi. So we can take multiple backups at the RPO that the customer configures. We can go back in time and restore them from a restore point up to 30 days. So if you configured a early RPO, you're looking at roughly 24 times 30, roughly about 720 backups to choose from. So if you want to restore from a restore point, which is about 3 weeks ago, on let's say on a Tuesday at 4 a.m., you can. Right? The solution is best suited for data loss or ransomware attack scenarios. And let me talk about Wasabi, right? Wasabi is an awesome partner to work with. The solution is better together with all the goodness and benefits of Wasabi. It has been quite a pleasure and delight to work with Wasabi. The product is easy to manage with the Cloud Console. To be honest, we were up and running in absolutely no time. They had all the capabilities we wanted, the S3 APIs, the object locks, the worm capabilities, and all the capabilities that we wanted for the backups to happen. So yeah, thanks to you, Rob. Thanks to the entire Wasabi team for your partnership in this. Wasabi was an Nutanix Ready validated partner already, and now we did onboard the Prism Central backup use case as well.
No, thank you. I wanted to say I was just at the .next conference, and the energy there and the excitement over your solutions was just, you could feel it in the air. It was great.
Pleasure, pleasure. Next slide, Rob. So I'll keep this brief on this slide. Essentially, there are three steps for the whole solution to work. You configure the Wasabi bucket. That's step number one. Step number two is you configure the backup on the Prism Central side. And step number three is if something happens or if a disaster strikes, you recover PC from that backup in Wasabi. Right? That's all there is to it. We will look at the workflow, later on in this webinar. But for now, Rob, back to you.
Um, as we talked about, cyber criminals are upping their game. You can't just rely on one layer of security more. You have to have multiple layers because everything can be compromised as a single thing. I mean, you start with the immutability with object lock, and it protects those backups. It makes them, invulnerable to deletion, encryption, change. But and it also gives you lots of different restore points that you can go back to. But if you can't protect the container that's holding those, they can go away in a heartbeat if someone compromises your account. So we've added multi-user authorization to our accounts, allowing you as a company to designate other security contacts. Those can be someone in legal, finance, operations, people that are not normally in the IT chain that have to approve any destructive actions. And if they don't all approve within a short amount of time, it doesn't happen. And in this next slide, I want to sort of talk about the fact that there are some threats. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but there's stolen admin credentials. There is privilege escalation. There is correlated compromise, and there's when that happens, you don't test your restores, and all of those can cause problems. But with the joint controls we offer and the economics Wasabi offers, it's both secure and cost effective because unlike some of the other choices in S3 out there, we don't charge for API fees or egress costs. So we talked briefly about this, what I like to call operational excellence in economics. But basically, if you don't test your restores, you never know what's going to happen. And we don't want to put barriers up there to testing those restores. Economic barriers, complexity barriers. So having a single tier of hot storage, having no API or egress fees to be able to use it, and the ability to frequently validate your backups to make sure that what you're backing up is both what you think you're backing up and will restore is incredibly important. And then not getting a surprise bill that's going to break the bank. So I'm going to let Abhinav sort of talk about this as he goes into a demo on this.
So essentially, like Rob just mentioned, it is a very simple process. You trigger or schedule a backup from the Nutanix side. On the Wasabi side, you configure the bucket with all the settings and configurations, and then you essentially start the backup. Step one is essentially creating and configuring a Wasabi bucket. This is the prep side of things where you set the lifecycle policy on the bucket. You enable object lock, worm, and bucket versioning, and that's all there is to it, right? So you have the credentials, you have the endpoint URLs of the Wasabi bucket. Next slide. On the Nutanix side, we get into the Prism Central settings where you have to configure the bucket credentials, the endpoint URL, and once you say next, the backup essentially starts. So the backup is at the RPO and RPO that the customer has configured. So it could vary from anywhere from 1 hour all the way to 24 hours, and in increments like 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. So the backup is automatically happening at the configured RPO, and the backup is automatically pushed to the Wasabi bucket once it's configured. And yeah, and essentially for the backups are retained for about 30 days. So you can go back 30 days if you choose to. And now, step three, when the disaster does occur, all you need to do is log into the Prism console. This is not the Prism Central, but this is the Prism element. Remember when I spoke about the clusters earlier? The clusters also have a console called the Prism element console. And that is the console that is used to do the restoration. Because Prism Central isn't available, the Prism Central console isn't available, and that's why you need to trigger the restore from the Prism element console. So what you see on the screen here is the Prism element console, and you essentially trigger a restore from there. Now, once you hit the Restore Now button, you are shown the option to enter your credentials for the Wasabi S3 bucket. The system then fetches all the backups available in that bucket. And like I said, it could go all the way up to 720 if you've configured an hourly backup. And you select from those available backups. Now, as you hit next on that workflow, a new instance of Prism Central is instantiated, and then the configurations are rehydrated from the backup onto the new Prism Central, essentially restoring the Prism Central. And roughly in about an hour and a half to 2 hours, you're up and running, and you've averted the disaster.
Yeah, I think you basically brought up some really good points here that I wanted to sort of go down into a little bit. One is backing up the environment is as critical as backing up the data. Making sure you have the ability to fine tune it to be able to not lose by having multiple backups at a higher frequency and being able to do it cost effectively and securely becomes critical because the data can't do anything unless it has an environment to live on. So on here, let's just sort of wrap this up, and thank you for sort of going through this, but you want to validate your ransomware resilient design. You want to be able to back this up, test it out, restore, and all these things. So, pilot Prism Central backup to an S3 compatible object storage repository. I'm biased, I'd say Wasabi. Run a 2-hop restore validation exercise because you don't want to do your first restore at the time of an incident and figure out either you missed a step or what you're backing up is not what you think you're backing up, or you don't remember how to do it. So you want to be able to basically find out what's working, what's not, and fix those things ahead of time. You want to define the object lock retention policy to make sure it is aligned with your RPO and RTO, because when you do put object lock on it, it means it's stored for that amount of time. So you don't want to go too long, but you don't want to go too short. You want to enable MUA, so to make sure that a single credential compromise doesn't destroy your whole environment. Spreading those decisions, those destructive decisions across multiple people in your organization will stop an AI bot, for example, of compromising one and doing something. Or in the case of what Ruhi talked about earlier, an avatar masquerading as a person. And please book a joint architect session. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to be able to look at your environment, look how you can replace that old, expensive, and even more expensive solution that you are using today with a much more cost-effective, more resilient, and a more feature-filled solution. And then try Wasabi for 30 days with a free trial. As we talked about earlier at the very beginning of this, we'll answer your questions that we get at the very end. We'll send you an email. But also on the side panels, there'll be some documentation, there'll be some slides, and there'll be the links so you can go try it out today. And with that, I'd like to thank my guests and thank the audience for paying attention, and appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.